Blue Jays getting set to start a three-game series against the Minnesota Twins down at Rogers Center. Ben Ennis and Shi Davidi getting you set for that. And Shi, this is a Twins team that is grossly underperformed this season. They were not supposed to be this bad. What happened to them?
Well, they've had lots of things happen to them over the course of the season. The vast majority of them not good, and obviously it starts with injuries all up and down the roster. They've had key injuries to the rotation. Kenta Maeda's missed time, Pineda's missed time. They've had some underperformance with guys like Jay Happ and Matt Shoemaker, and then they've had injuries into their lineup as well. When you think about Buxton missing time, Josh Donaldson missing time, amongst many others. Those are certainly key pieces of a lineup that was supposed to mash. And if you think about what they'd been over the past couple of years, they were a dominant offense and they had some pretty good pitching. But the rotation underperformed. Their best starter is now a member of the Blue Jays and Jose Barrios, which certainly hasn't helped matters. And then that bullpen hasn't been good too. So you put that combination together, and you generally end up with the kind of season that the Minnesota Twins have been having.
Well, you mentioned Barrios, who was nursing a bit of an abdominal injury. With the off day yesterday, could make for some interesting questions going into this series as far as the rotation. How do you see that working out?
I mean, that is a really interesting question, both in terms of Barrios and how the Blue Jays use this off day to set themselves up, because they've got to line up their best guys for the key games in the schedule. Obviously, there's a key stretch in the final week where they've got the New York Yankees, they've got the Tampa Bay Rays next week, and you obviously want to have your best for those games. But you also want to make sure that you have a Robbie Ray or potentially a Barrios, if he's fine, lined up for a game 163 or a wild card, or maybe even a game 162 if that becomes necessary. So a lot is going to hinge on the status of Jose Barrios and how he's able to fit into that rotation. And I expect that we'll get a bit more information about that as over the coming days as he continues to recuperate from that tightness in his abdomen.
So the Twins in town means that Josh Donaldson is in town. Not his first return to Toronto since he won an MVP award in 2015, returned the Blue Jays to the postseason for the first time in 20 years as well. The question I threw out there on Twitter was, is he enough of a pillar in the history of this franchise to warrant being up on the level of excellence? What do you think?
It's a great question. And I think in terms of peak performers, you won't find many guys who can compare to Josh Donaldson. I mean, what he did in 15 and 16, I mean, just beyond elite. And even the half season that he had in 17 when he was healthy, that was, again, MVP caliber type of performance. But, obviously 18 was marred by injury and other things. And that was it. And then it ends up being a really short burst. And so in my mind, part of level of excellence is longevity. Right. And so, there's no doubt in my mind that Jose Bautista belongs up there. Edwin Encarnacion belongs up there. But for Josh Donaldson, to me, it's just too brief a period to put him up with the best in franchise history. But he is certainly among the elite, and he's had among the very best seasons that anybody ever had in a Blue Jays uniform.
Blue Jays have been elite in September. They've only lost twice, and one of those losses came against the best team in the American League, despite taking 2 out of 3 from the Tampa Bay Rays. How do you evaluate where the Blue Jays currently sit in the wild card standings?
Well, they've really set themselves up tremendously well with that run that you just mentioned, Ben. And they really had to do the remarkable to make these final couple of weeks relevant for themselves. And they've done the remarkable part. And at this point, they're already at 82 wins. If they go 9-7 the rest of the way, they get to 91. That's probably a number that is the sweet spot that gets you into the postseason in the wild card. But that's not a tremendous record or a tremendously tough challenge, but they still have to play well. But they've done the heavy lifting in a lot of ways. And, in many ways, they're in the driver's seat. They have games in hand on both the Yankees and the Red Sox. They're in complete control of their own destiny. So, they've done in some ways the hardest part. Now it's really just getting to the finish line and ensuring they don't trip in the final stretch.
Well, and facing the Minnesota Twins could prove very beneficial. The Red Sox and Yankees, a combined 11-3 against the Twins this season. Shi, thanks for this.
Pleasure as always.